If you don't mind, I'm going to kick it off. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to thank you all for allowing us the space to offer our recommendations regarding the Emerging Markets Subcommittee. And as Kat mentioned, the Emerging Markets is really focused on the minority and women business community and the fact that, you know, it continues to be a growing market and supporting our local economies, not only from a business perspective with our business owners, but from a workforce development perspective and hiring folks from our communities. To provide you some context as to why it's so important to continue to resource and provide dedicated funding to, specifically dedicated to supporting the growth and sustainability of minority and women-owned businesses. There are over 99,000 small businesses in Rhode Island. Of those, 14,000 businesses are self-identified minority-owned. However, the Rhode Island Certification Office and the Rhode Island Certified MWBEs, as a total, both in-state and out-of-state, are 642 state-certified MWBEs. Of those 642, 54% of those Rhode Island state-certified firms are Rhode Island-based firms. The rest are out-of-state, but they happen to be certified by our Rhode Island office. So what does that mean? That means that we have a huge pipeline and a huge opportunity to educate, inform, increase outreach, and provide dedicated resources to ensure that we communicate with our self-identified minority and women business community about the importance of the certification and how important it is for them to gain access to the state contracting and state procurement process. And by resourcing the appropriate resource providers and offices to help build capacity to engage in that work and to be able to educate folks, again, will only increase their ability to generate revenue, create more jobs, and continue to support our traditionally underrepresented communities. So our recommendation, number one, for that category is dedicated resourcing. And the second item, there was a piece of legislation introduced in 1994 which suggested that any construction contracts over $1 million, a portion of that would be allocated specifically to a fund that would be used for resourcing that I just talked about. So thank you for allowing me to introduce that first item, and my co-chair Arthur will briefly introduce the second item. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you, Adriana. Thank you, Honorable Speaker and President of Senate. Thank you all of you for giving us this opportunity. In our working session, we were talking about several issues, but those two that we are presenting today is what we consider the most critical. And the first one is about the participation of the minority business in the certification and, of course, the posterior process of contracting with the government. And our second issue today is the prompt payment failure. I have 2 minutes so to describe that the failure to receive payment in a timely manner adversely affects all the small business, but particularly minority business and women business are more sensitive and more vulnerable for this point. Failure to receive payment often implies irreparable harm in our business. In a high number, close our business. When a small business, a minority business, make an investment in material, in human resource to complete the work and doesn't receive the payment on time, is really impacting and in a negative form. We know that the law of Rhode Island established that 30 days, the prime contractor should receive the payment, and in the next 10 days, the subcontractor should receive the payment. But this law has some limitation. For example, it does apply only for bonded projects. So for non-bonded project, doesn't have any mechanism of protection. We know that there is a legislation that was introduced last year that has not been approved yet. And we support this as a first step to create a mechanism to protect those minority business. Part of our recommendation is to ask you the support for this legislation as our first step. And of course, review existing best practices and legislation that exists in our neighbor state to improve the compliant adjudication process and the payment on time. Today, for some small business to introduce a complaint, to file a complaint, that takes so long, so much time, and sometimes is necessary to go to court. At the end of the road, it's more expensive, the process, than the money that they are claiming. So our recommendation is to support and introduce new legislation in order to protect our minority business. Thank you very much, all of you, for your support.